Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we are back with our little mini-series of rebuilding our decks after Blackrock Mountain. Today we are going to rebuild the Shaman. Uh, Shaman is how I'm trying to teach myself to pronounce it, because I've mispronounced it so often. So let's just start like we did before. Last episode, and probably going to do every time. Just take a look at what the Shaman's all about. Uh, Here's a card. The silences does 1 damage. Here's one that does 2 damage to 2 random minions, but it has an overload of 2. And the overload means that any mana you use this turn are going to be reduced next turn. So next turn you're going to have 2 less mana. Deal 3 damage, overload 1. Summon this for 1, has Wind Fury so it can attack twice, but it has an overload of 2. So, super overpowered creature. I mean, his health is not really high enough that you could attack more than once or twice, attack for more than 1 or 2 turns. Here is a weapon, the Stormforged Axe, 2 mana, 2 attack, 3 duration. That's kind of a high duration, and it has an overload of 1. You have the Ancestral Spirit that gives a minion death rattle to resummon the minion. You have Crackle, interesting. It does between 3 and 6 damage and has an overload of 1. You have this totem that at the end of the turn restores 4 health to your hero, which is actually quite a high amount of health. 2 mana, 0 attack, 3 health. That's a pretty good card. Unfortunately, I don't have it. Here's a good one. The Whirling Zap-O-Matic. It has Wind Fury. It costs 2 mana, 3 attack, 2 health. Just ever so slightly an improvement from the Dust Devil, which is 1 mana, 3 attack, and 1 health. Actually, though, because this has an overload of 2, you are almost certainly better with this card. If you were only going to pick one, I'd pick the Whirling Zap-O-Matic, which is a Goblins vs. Gnomes card, which I do feel like they made slight improvements on some of the other cards. Next weapon is the Power Mace, still getting the video bug. Anyways, it says Death Rattle, give a random friendly mech +2/+2 on his Death Rattle. It's 3 attacks and 2 durations, 2 durabilities. You have Farsight, draw a card, the card costs 3 less. That's interesting. It's 3 mana, but the card costs 3 less. I could see putting this in my deck. I mean, I really could. It's basically drawing a card for free, as long as you don't draw a card that is more than 3. You have Feral Spirit here, which is a spell that's not even saying its name for me. So I don't even know what that is. It apparently has Taunt and it has an Overload, but even here, when I am not seeing the graphical glitches, it's not telling me. I don't know if that is because, well, here it is. Now it is. It almost feels like it's a system what's intentionally not showing me things, but then I flip it over and change the pages and it fixes it. So now it says summon 2 wolves, 3 spirit wolves with taunt and overload of 2. Feral Spirit is actually a pretty good card. Lava Burst, deal 5 damage, overload of 2. Let's see what that one says. Lightning Strike, come on. This would work so much better if I didn't have to deal with Hearthstone's bugginess. They need to really fix this. Sure, this isn't actually the game and it doesn't matter. It's not game breaking, but it's a little disappointing. So, Lightning Storm, deal 2 to 3 damage to all enemies. Overload enemy minions. Overload 2, not the hero. Then you have the Mana Tide Totem. What does that say? At the end of your turn, you draw a card that's 3 mana. Oh, 3 mana, 0 attack, 3 health. I don't think this one is a good card, just for what you get. Spending 3 mana, no attack, draw another card. Now here is the Unbound Elemental, and this is the major center of what your deck is going to be about if you're going to be playing Overload cards, which is almost all of these Shaman cards. You want this Unbound Elemental early on your 3rd turn or earlier if you can, and whenever you play something with Overload, gain +1/+1. Now if it says Overload 2, that doesn't mean he gets +2/+2, he just still gets +1/+1. But you would definitely need that in your deck. Unfortunately, there's some other cards that really also work with Overload if you're going to do that. Overload cards are usually slightly too cheap, slightly too powerful, but after you run the numbers and the statistics, they're not actually worth it. So we have Ancestor's Call here, put a random minion from each player's hand into the battlefield. Dune Maul Shaman, he has Wind Fury, let's see, which means he can attack twice. He has an overload of 1 and a 50% chance to attack the wrong enemy. You have the Silt Fin Spirit Walker. Whenever another friendly Murloc dies, draw a card. Overload 1. Now, I would have this in my deck if I was playing a Murloc deck on Shaman. And there is a good reason to play Murlocs on the Shaman, because you also have Neptunian here if we skip ahead, that adds 4 random Murlocs to your hand, overload 3. Plus, if you're playing all these overload cards, or even some of them, that means you're going to be very low in mana, so a bunch of Murlocs that only cost 1, 2, or 3, maybe 4 for old Murkai mana, really do work with overloads. Unfortunately, overloads just affect you, they don't affect your opponent, so your opponent might be using all his mana a lot more efficiently. So you have the Earth Elemental here, which has Taunt, but overload 3 is 5 mana, 7 attack, 8 health. This would probably be an 8 mana if it didn't have the overload. That's about how it works. For every overload, it is probably 1 mana more it would have cost otherwise. You have Doomhammer, which has Wind Fury and an overload of 2. So it has 8 uses, but you could use that probably in 4 turns because it can attack twice, and it doesn't have a very high attack. And then, let's see, Alkir the Windlord, which has Wind Fury, Charge, Divine Shield, and Taunt, which definitely would have this guy in my deck if I had him. I mean, that is just ridiculous. For 8 mana, he can attack twice. So this 3 attack is effectively 6. He has Charge, so he can attack on his first turn twice. He has a Divine Shield, which means he could attack an enemy and not take any damage the first time. And he has Taunt, so that means somebody's going to have to attack him. I mean, this is the 4 basic abilities all in one card. Pretty good card. I wish I had it. And so you've got all of these cards that are overload. And the Shaman's ability is that he summons a totem. And the totems are a 0/1 that adds +1 spell damage, a 0/2 that heals I think +1 to all minions, a 1/1 that is just a normal totem and has no special ability, and a 0/2 with Taunt. And those are the 4 totems. So if you were to play, say, Bloodlust or something like that, which I think is the card you can play. Let's see. Isn't one of these cards Bloodlust? Maybe it's a neutral card. Maybe you can't play it at all. You can get 4 characters. Once you get the one of each totem, that's it. So if you have the other 3 totems and you summon the 0/2 with taunt, and then it gets killed, you know for sure the next time you use that 2 mana ability, you're gonna get a 0/2 for taunt. It's randomized, but you can only have 1, so it's not quite randomized. There's no real creatures here that work super great, except for Murlocs. Frankly, Murlocs are it. I would add this to my Murlocs deck here. The Hungry Crab, it has a battle cry where it eats a Murloc and gets +2/+2. You could eat a simple 1/1 Murloc, probably not the Tidecaller, and get some more power. So I'd have him in the Murloc deck probably too. You wanna, yeah, I would. But no other creatures here really work with the overload thing. They just have to be cheap creatures is about all they will. The owl, of course, will work in pretty much anything. Mana Wraith sort of works in everything because it makes everything more expensive, but it would work very badly in the Shaman deck because you'd be playing all these overload things and then costing minions, making minions cost more. There are several characters that will make minions cost less, but not as less as the overloads you'd be playing nearly every turn. The trick to overloading, I would say, would be to overload as much as possible in one turn, so you just use all that mana up for the next turn and do 2 turns worth of stuff in one turn and then do nothing in the next, which is tricky. That is definitely a trick you'd have to pull out. But I really can't see anything else in these neutral cards that are going to help with that, with a Shaman deck, because there's just nothing. The Shaman creatures aren't, if I can find the right thing, they're just normal creatures. They're not elementals as a style of, well, this one's a mech, but as a style of the few creatures I even have, they're not anything. They're not anything but regular minions. So there's no elemental class. Maybe they should come up with an elemental class and go back and reclassify them, which I think they really should do. I think they should come back and reclassify every single one of these in expansions over the years and have cards interact with each other some more. Make it more complicated and more intertwined. There's just really nothing here. You can always have Defender of Argus. You can certainly probably do Piloted Shredder because that's a pretty good one just for what it costs. You can always have the Antique Heal Bot to heal up. That one's probably going to end up in a lot of my decks. You could try to increase the damage of your weapon, but I don't know if there are any neutral cards that do that. I think that's all rogue cards. So the weapon thought is kind of neutral. I would say playing the Shaman is probably a medium difficulty character. It doesn't look like there's too much to it. If you want to make it complicated with the overloads, you certainly can, but you could also just put a bunch of neutral cards in it and not be too bothered about the overloads and then have a simple one there. Let's see. So when we start getting up here to the legendary 7s and all that, do we want any of these at all? At your end of the turn, gain +1/+1. I guess maybe you could throw that in your deck. You could certainly use Ragnaros. Let's see. Whenever an enemy minion dies, summon a leopard gnome. You could probably try that one. I don't think this one ever is worth it. The Nose Dormu, players have 15 seconds to take their turns. I don't think that really changes the game any, because it doesn't. People can play fast if you force them to. They're not gonna start making mistakes. This one would be pretty good. Summon 1/1 whelps until your battle side is full. That'd probably work on a lot of them. Ursa might work a little bit with the Shaman. Deathwing, probably wouldn't want to play that one. This one would probably work the Sea Giant. I would bet the Sea Giant would work really good with the Shaman, because if you play with Murlocs in particular, you're going to have a lot of other minions on the battlefield. You could have up to 7 and get this down to 3 just on your side, so if the opponent had 3, it would be free. Or more likely, if you had 5 and your opponent had 5, it would be free. Let's see. Clockwork Giant cost 1 less for each card in your opponent's hand. That's something you really can't ever control. You just don't know, and you really don't want your opponent to have a bunch of cards. Usually, at least. Cost was 1 less for each other card in your hand. I would much rather have the Mountain Giant than the Clockwork Giant, because you can control what's in your hand a lot more. And cost 1 less for each damage your hero is taken. I would certainly put this one in my Warlock deck if I had it, because yeah, if we certainly get down in life real fast on the Warlock deck. I don't recall seeing some of these cards even when I was building the deck, but that's probably because I don't have them. So let's say bye-bye to the Shaman and show you what I picked as the deck. Bye-bye Shaman deck. Time for our new Blackrock Mountain Shaman deck. So, what I chose, let's see, as I'm looking over it on my overlay program, was Grimstone Oracle, Murlocs, Murloc Raider, Murlocs, Murloc Tidecaller, and then the first one I chose, nope, is it over here really? Let's see, Ancestral Spirit. Where? It's gotta be a Shaman thing. Ancestral Spirit. I took 2 of these that give a minion death rattle and resummons them, because Murlocs have a very high tendency to die, and so that sounds like a pretty good move to be able to have them come back to life if they do die. Testing out 2 Wind Furies, which is possibly a bad idea, possibly a good idea. I mean, Murlocs on their own are pretty weak. Giving them Wind Furies would help. Why I chose 2 Wind Furies instead of something like this, I don't know. I can't even stick with that. I've got to change my mind on the fly. I would much rather have that than Wind Fury. So it goes to show you that I've thought these things through, but I haven't certainly agonized over it. There's definitely probably more work that could be done. So I took the Blue Gill Warrior, the charge with 2 attack, and then Flame Totem. Oh, I did have that in my deck. Never mind. So, sorry, I'll put the Wind Furies back and stop questioning myself because I'm making myself look dumb. Alright, next one we got was the Murloc Tidehunter. This is definitely just a Murloc deck. I basically threw every single Murloc I had in here and then went back and filled in the gaps because you take up about 20 of the spaces, maybe even a little bit higher with the Murlocs. And we just got the Puddle Stomper, the 3-2 normal one. And then let's see, they did take the Whirling Zap-O-Matic, so I was right about that. And back to more Murlocs. So we're putting a Murloc deck here, which means I very well might change the priest, these two Murlocs here, double up on that. This one has each player draw 2 cards, this one gives all other Murlocs on both sides plus 2 health. So my priest right now has my quote-unquote Murlocs deck, but I think I may not stick with that. I may just get rid of it. We're almost done with the Murlocs, except for the Hungry Crab, really only old Murkai and the Murloc War Leader are left. I need another one of these, definitely. And so, next one is the 4 mana Murloc Old Murkai. Yeah, here we are. Deck limit of 1, so even if I could get another one, which you can't, because it's a reward card, I couldn't even have it in my deck. So that's pretty much everything as far as the neutral and the Murlocs. And we just have a few other empty spaces we can fill up. Let's see. I took this one, the Wind Speaker that gives a friendly minion Wind Fury. Trying to double up and give Wind Fury to as many of the Murlocs as possible, just to increase their attack even more. I took 2 Bloodlust, give your minions plus 3 attack this turn, which is weird because it's just your minions on the Shaman, but there is a Druid card that gives all your guys, including your hero, plus 2, and I think it may cost 5 too. No, actually it costs 2 mana. So the Druid one costs 2 mana to do plus 2 to all your minions and your hero. The Shaman Bloodlust costs 5 mana to do 3 attack to all your minions. That seems like a little apples and oranges to me. I mean, I don't see the connection. I don't see how the numbers balance out at all. It seems like the Druid card is a lot better than Bloodlust, but I'm still going to have Bloodlust in my deck. And then I'll bring out the Fire Elemental because it's pretty good. It does a 3 damage, it's a 6 attack, 5 health. I probably could trade this for something better if I thought about it. And then Neptunian. Well, I've missed something here and added a card because my deck is, let's see, Ancestral Spirit, Wind Fury. I only have 1 Flaming Totem is what I chose because I definitely want Neptunian so I can have even more Murlocs. So trying to get a maximum of Murlocs here. And so that's pretty much what it is. It's a Murlocs deck. But we're gonna just call it the Shaman deck. I think if there was a deck that was designed to be played with Murlocs, it's probably the Shaman. So, well, let's get in there and we'll play 1 or 2 games. Hero Power 2 mana, Totem Call. Let's see how well this deck works. I would be very surprised if it didn't work well, because the Murloc deck has served me very well so far, and I don't see any reason why this wouldn't be, the few Shaman cards wouldn't complement that a lot. But really, this is much more of a Murloc deck than it is a Shaman deck. I'm gonna have to, I'd have to think about it and try and figure out a strategy. If people know a strategy that where really playing the Wind Fury helps and works, and the, not Wind Fury, but Overload cards helps and works, that'd be very interesting. I'd be interested in that. Leave that in the comments. If you know of a better deck or you think you've thought up a better deck, let me know. I'll look at it, see if I have the cards. A lot of times I won't even have the cards to match up. I've tried to play the Overload as the Shaman deck, and it doesn't happen fast enough. It doesn't work for me. It makes it more difficult for me to win, not less, which is not what I want. And also what I don't want is the no ability to play on the first turn, which is amazing on a Murloc deck. Just completely amazing, because there's at least 5 1-mana cards in my deck. Well, there's exactly 5 1-mana cards. My overlay is telling me that right now. We're playing against a Warlock. I'm surprised. I've noticed I've been playing against Warlock people, but I wouldn't do it. We could not get a very good Warlock deck last episode, and I wish I could have, but yeah, that's just how it goes sometimes. I don't understand the strategy. I don't have the cards to make it make sense. That's the problem. Come on, end your turn.
I wonder. Almost out of time.
He's gonna be one of those. Well, hopefully not. Hopefully he's apologizing. We'll thank him. Don't want to do this. I'm gonna do this. Often I'll summon this guy just as a stall, because he can kill one of them, but he's highly unlikely to be able to kill both of them.
Why do you call?
Summon this. I want to draw cards as fast as possible. Try and get this guy if I can. Just in my turn.
Thank you.
You kind of want to hold back when you're playing a Murloc deck. Just a little bit. Wait until you have enough Murlocs in your hand and the right ones. He was playing a Murloc there, probably not as a strategy, just as a card he had.
One shot, one
See what happens when I summon this. Nothing. So we'll just summon this.
Job's done.
So now if my guy doesn't die, I can summon the Puddle Stomper and the Cold Light Seer and give them all +2 health and get this guy up to a 3-2, but actually a 3-4 because of the +2 health.
So many possibilities.
We must cleanse the Sunwell.
I would use Ancestral Spirit on this guy, just probably because I'd never be given time to do it. So I can continue down that path and summon these two. Or I could try something different. Let's see. Is it worth it to keep this guy around, or should I be killing him, or what? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm kind of working towards the Bloodlust attack, but they're doing their damage. And these aren't Murlocs with 1 attack. That's 9, 10, 11, 12 right there of my 19. Next turn I could summon this one. Not doing very good. This is one of those Murloc games where you just didn't get the cards and you got unlucky. Maybe Murloc decks are based on luck a little too much. That is definitely something that is possible and believable to me.
I hope you like my invention.
And if I just had a way to do like 3 damage to everybody, even 2 damage to everybody would be nice. It's taking forever to win. Nothing worse than a sore winner. Alright. Charge. This. Attack here, attack here, doesn't matter, there's 10 damage on the board, he should just win next turn.
Give me a quest.
He didn't really do anything here, he just
Ready for action.
had better cards, which is weird. I got really unlucky on this, I have to assume. Or if somebody sees the strategy that I messed up and didn't play right, let me know. Yeah, he's getting so powered.
Well played.
He's just showing how much more he could have done. That's kind of the power of this card right here. That I'd like to be able to use it more, but just haven't found a place for it in my deck yet. Let's try that again. Give it another shot, and then we'll call it the end of an episode, even if we lose. These are the decks. No guarantee they will win. We are probably falling back into the old ways of Hearthstone, where I used to lose a lot, and I don't want to do that, but it's probably going to happen. That is the problem with Hearthstone, and playing with real people in general, is that when you play with real people, you're going to lose. And you're probably going to lose more than 50% of the time, which is not a high enough ratio for playing video games. You want to stay, personally, I want to stay closer to 80, 90% victory all the time. I don't mind if I play a game from beginning to finish and never die once. That's fine to me. Let's see. We'll use the coin and draw 2 cards and end our turn. This is definitely one of the cards we want.
Something needs tinkering?
We might win this one. At least we're off to a better start. I'm gonna go ahead and draw 2 more cards. Usually doing this will fill up his hand and burn at least 1 card. Done it. Alright, let's try this. +1 attack. Plus this. Attack. Attack. Done. End the turn. Now they often, if they don't know the cards, will target the wrong one. And he's definitely made the mistake. The card to attack first would have been the war leader. Summon this. And summon this. Get some more health. Attack the base. We're equal, but I feel like I'm at the advantage right now. It could be a false sense, but I feel like I'm close to it. I would have probably wanted to put the Death Rattle Resummon on the War Leader. Maybe I should have done that. Was there a point when I could have done that? I didn't think about it. But the War Leader getting resummoned would have been great.
I can fix anything.
Let's see. I could summon this guy and give one of these guys Wind Fury, which is not really that helpful. Let's see. I want to do this. And I want to do this. So now I have two options. I can either make them more powerful by summoning the totem, or I could potentially get a taunt. I think I'll just make them more powerful. I see no reason not to. Actually, I probably should have put that closer to the middle, but whatever. Smash the face. Smash the face. 15 to 26. Pretty good position. I could play this next turn. I'm not sure I want to. We have 3, 5, 8. Let's see. So that's 8, 11. 11 plus 3 is 14. 14, 17 damage on the deck. So we could take him out next turn.
Repairs available.
What is this guy? Whenever a friendly mech dies, gain +2/+2. Interesting. And then he has +4 health. Started at 5 and then he was to 9, then the +2/+2 got him to 11. Now again, he's targeting the wrong one. He should be targeting this one first. It's important to know the Murlocs because they work with each other. Alright, so I think we're fine. These guys will only do, let's see, 5 plus 3 is 8, 8, 12, 17 damage to my face. Well, these guys are going to do 4 plus 7 plus 10 plus 13. But when I bring this guy out and give him Wind Fury, I've won. And that is the power of the Murloc deck. And that is exactly how I like to go. So I think that's a pretty good Shaman deck. It's mostly just a Murloc deck, and a few Shaman things, but mostly just a Murloc deck, and I think we're just going to permanently have that as our deck until we decide to rebuild our decks again, which will be for a while. Anyways, that's the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment if you want to, and watch every second of my videos. All that helps me out. If you want to support me, there's two ways. You can click on my name, Rydo. On the right will be a blue button that says support this channel, or you can click on the Amazon.com affiliate link in the description and just shop normally. If you want to follow me on practically any social media or friend me on Steam or Battle.net, that information is down below also. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.